Hello, everybody. Welcome to this recording of the findings of the research we made at TargetSpot together with IPSOS on digital audio, obviously, whether it's the consumption or the attitude toward advertising. It's a research which was made in France. And so here, let me present myself. So I'm the Global Marketing Director at TargetSpot. And personally, I have a special passion for podcasts. So it's a topic very close to my heart. And the one who will do most of the talking today.
Good afternoon. I'm Anton. I'm Senior Client Service Director at IPSOS, mainly involved in research regarding media and advertising.
All right, great. So just a little bit of context before letting Anton introduce the results. So the research objectives was really, to analyze the reach of digital audio in various forms. We have music streaming, podcasts, web radios. So there are many ways. That's only the most common ones. Many ways to listen to audio. So to understand a little bit how it compares with other touch points in the broader sense of communication plans, and also understand how people react to advertising. Also something. So the research was made in France, but honestly, it's like we know like global trends are really affecting consumer behaviors. The adoption of smartphones, also the effect of the pandemic on behaviors. So like most of the findings you can really apply to other countries. Just maybe take with a pinch of salt the absolute figures, but key findings should really be applicable in most, let's say, countries. So for the ones who don't want to wait, for the to watch the whole video, I'm just going to share a quick executive summary as an introduction on what you will learn and what we've learned with this study, this research. I think it's great to say that now digital audio campaigns can deliver both attention and reach. And you can see that on the little mapping on the bottom of the slide. We have a very strong media in terms of attention to advertising. Like people are all ears. I think we can say that, especially compared to some other online ad formats, which can sometimes feel irritating, or not very suitable for certain advertising goals. So from this, you really have like best of both worlds in a way, the attention of offline media and the modernity of online ones. And of course, if you think about the comparison with FM radio, which is often a bridge made by advertisers or agencies, you will see clearly that there is really outstanding incrementality in terms of reach versus FM radio. This incrementality is even more striking when you go to the younger people, 16 to 34. In fact, for those people, you could even say that it's FM radio, which is incremental to digital audio. That being said, I'm going to leave the floor to Anton to give more details on those results. And maybe, just so as you see on the mapping, those two learnings allow us to say digital audio advertising is now a safe bet. It's not anymore the shiny new thing that you have no idea whether it will perform. Now it's increasingly reliable in terms of communication investment. Anton, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Victor. And as Victor already said, we did this interview for TargetSpot in France, and we interviewed 16 to 17-year-olds living in France. We had 1,000 online interviews, and we made sure that we had a representative sample reflecting the French population by putting quota on age, gender, and region. We organized fieldwork somewhere mid-July this summer using our own proper IPSOS access panel, online panel. Now let's start with the results and start by the claimed media consumption of the French consumers. So on this slide, you can see the overall results, the amount of consumers claiming they have consumed this type of media during the past 30 days. And we see that TV is still the medium that reaches the most French consumers. And what is most important to us is that we see that music streaming it obtains a reach of 39%. But more interesting is even the combination of the three digital audio platforms and music streaming, internet radio, and podcasts, and a combined reach of those three media leads to 54%, a number that is really in line with, for instance, FM radio and in line with online videos. Now, when we zoom in on the differences between different social media, socio-demo groups, we see that, as expected, digital audio is more popular among younger audiences, while FM radio still holds its position among the somewhat older audiences. So as such, digital audio and FM audio are very complementary. The digital audio succeeds better in reaching the below 35-year-old, and FM performs better among the 35-year and older consumers.
Which is really striking for me, Anton, sorry to interrupt, is to see that for 16 to 34, like digital audio is really like in the top 5. There's no real big gap, with television or social media, which are really the number one. So it's like, if you want to reach such an audience from that age group, like it looks like a must,
Yeah, it's a must-have. Yeah, and indeed, on a total perspective, the complementarity with, for instance, FM radio is very striking, and this one is confirmed on the next slide, and where we can see that the total audience that is reached using audio. So we already saw that 54% consumed digital audio the past 30 days. And if we look at FM radio, we saw that 56% consumes 30 days. Now, the interesting part is when we combine and bring those two audiences together, what is the net reach of both audio platforms, then we can see that in total, 76% of the French consumers listen to any form of audio in the past 30 days. And the interesting part is that if you add digital audio on top of FM radio, you can increase your reach from 56% only with FM radio to 76%. So digital audio has an incremental reach of 90%. 1 out of 5 French consumers exclusively listen to this digital audio in the past month. So that's a really high figure. Now, if we
when
do
you
say,
look, sorry, Anton, if you can come back. Yeah,
yeah.
I think there is still a big proportion which listens to both, let's say, digital or linear audio. If you think of the way people listen to FM radio, we know the car. The driving time is still very big. So you can imagine the same person listening to the FM radio in the car and then, listening to a web radio while working, for instance, or cooking. So it's quite, I think we understand there's a lot of overlap too.
Yeah, indeed. And the complementarity is also striking. So we did the same exercise for the 16 to 34 years old. And again, what we saw already, the digital audio reaches 67% of the French consumers between 16 and 35 years old. And FM slightly lower, 49%, but still, when we make the combination, 79% of the 16 to 34 years old listen to audio in the past 30 days. And you can see that you need FM radio on top of the digital audio channels to obtain this total reach of 79%, because FM contributes with a unique reach of 12%. So it's really important to combine both. Now, this was on past 30 days. We also did the exercise on weekly reach and more frequent listeners, and we see more or less the same trend when it comes to digital audio compared to other channels. And again, the younger audiences are more reached using the digital audio compared to the older audiences. And like Victor said before, digital audio comes in a very important place compared to other channels, such as, for instance, TV, that only reaches 66% on a weekly basis. Now, again, doing a calculation and seeing the additional value of digital audio, and in this case, on top of online videos, we see in terms of weekly reach, 48% was reached with digital audio. For online video, it's also 48%, but the combination leads to 62% that watched online videos or listened to digital audio or did both. And we see the unique contribution of, for instance, digital audio on top of online video. It's 14%, so an incremental reach of 14% when you add digital audio to your online video plan.
Maybe a precision is, here we are talking about online video platforms, but not like online video in social media. Huh?
No, indeed, it's social media was a separate
exactly. It's
platform.
more like the YouTube and so on, or streaming,
yes.
or video streaming subscription like Netflix, etc.
Yes. So we talked about reach, the amount of consumers that consume this type of media, but that's one thing. But another thing is the attention with the attention for advertising, and this is measured in our second dimension. And on the next slide here, you can see the claimed attention consumers have towards advertising on these different platforms. We had a question on a 10-point scale where we categorized them into 3 categories. In red, the percentage of people that gave a score between 0 and 5 on 10. In gray, the amount of consumers that gave a 6 to 7. And in green, the amount of consumers that gave an 8 to 10. And if we rank them, the different platforms on the amount of consumers that rated an 8 to 10 in terms of attention on those different platforms, and we see that the digital audio platforms, podcasts, and internet radio are performing very well compared to the other ones. It's 27, 26% that scores an 8 to 10, while for instance, online video is only at a 17% top 3 score. So and social media and website score even lower. So very interesting that consumers claim to have more attention towards advertising on digital audio compared to other digital channels.
I must say I wasn't really surprised by these figures, because we had previous research talking, about the memorization of ads in digital audio. But if you take a step back and if you think of how people consume digital audio, it's such an immersive moment. Sometimes we say that it's a little bit like some me time, and also if you think that people wear headsets very often, so you can really imagine that people are all ears. And also one thing to consider, obviously, is that there is not a huge proportion of ads right now in those channels, especially podcast and internet radio. Maybe music streaming is a bit different especially if you take a free plan, I don't know, of Spotify, you can have some ads there more present, but otherwise it's still quite virgin territory, and so it's the first who will go there will really get a nice efficiency for their investments.
Yes, indeed. Now, if we combine this attention...
Sorry, Anton. Websites over there, the last one is the banners, right? The bannering, yeah.
It's banners on websites, indeed. Now, the attention was one thing that we measured, and if we combine it with reach that we showed earlier in the presentation, I think it becomes very interesting. And that's what we did, I'm sorry, and we created 4 quadrants actually. We put on the horizontal axis the weekly reach as seen in the previous slides. And on the vertical axis, we combined it with the attention score, the percentage of people that gave an 8 to 10 on attention, what we saw earlier. And this gives us 4 interesting quadrants. On the top right, the ones with a high reach and a high attention value. This is the spot where you want to be as a platform. You reach a lot of consumers and they pay attention to your ads. On this left-hand side, the left top corner, here you also obtain a good attention score, yet there's still some lower reach. So it's more for niche marketing. You reach a lower target, but the ones that you reach are very attentive for advertising. So if the platform is capable of increasing the reach, it has the potential to move to that side. On the right bottom side, there you have lots of reach and lots of consumers that could be reached, but you need to be aware that the attention they spend towards your advertising is somewhat below average. And so this is underperforming in terms of attention. And on the left bottom side, this is the side where the platform doesn't want to be. And it's a low reach and it doesn't attract any attention to the ads. So underperforming in both dimensions. Now let's discover where the different platforms are. And here you can see the results among the general population. You can see that the individual digital audio platforms are performing good on attention. That's what we saw one of the previous slides. But in terms of reach, there's still some room for improvement. But they are clearly outperforming other online channels such as online videos, bannering on websites, and social media, which are better in reach but underperform in terms of attention. So the combination of the 3 digital audio platforms leads to a very good positioning with a good reach and a good attention score, and above average attention score. So very good on the total population. If we do the same exercise for example, the 35 to 54-year-olds, we see the exceptional score of podcasts. Podcasts generate a very high attention score, but also the other digital audio formats perform well in terms of attention, yet there's still some room for improvement when it comes to reach. Now, combining these 3, again, brings us to this position in the right top corner. So good performance in terms of reach and in terms of attention, while as other digital media tend to underperform on attention. Now, finally, the last exercise is for the oldest age group that we interviewed, and the digital audio platforms are in this age group less mature, let's say. And both the reach and attention is somewhat lower, and this age group is still more open for television advertising. And the reach is very good, and also in terms of attention towards ads, this performs still at a very high level, and the digital audio is still somewhat immature. Now, we saw 2 metrics already, attention and reach. Now, in this final chapter, we are going to zoom in on the different advertising goals that you can have with your campaign. And we are focusing on attitude towards the different type of ad formats. So ad formats can be suitable for different communication goals. And we can ask consumers how good the different ad formats are suited for different communication goals, such as creating brand awareness, reinforcing brand image, or creating some kind of call to action. We calculated some indexes towards the total average on performing on these communication goals. And you can find the results on these slides. And we start with an example for brand awareness. So you see the performance of the different ad formats on brand awareness, and we compared it with the total average. We see little to no differentiation, and none of the different formats is really outperforming the other ones. All averages are very close to 100, the 100 score, which is the total average, except here for the banners on websites that are clearly underperforming when it comes to brand awareness. Now let's focus on the other objectives. And here you see lots of figures, of course, that are popping up. But then we can see that internet radio, for instance, is better in reinforcing brand image compared to other formats, and reinforcing brand loyalty, which is the stronger case for ads on internet. Now, when we zoom in on ads on website.
Sorry, Anton. I think, I mean, if you look at the total line digital audio, for me, sometimes we can have the sort of preconceived idea that audio is really like awareness oriented, and here we see that it's a bit broader and that it shouldn't be limited to one type of goal. Because then there are many ways within audio, to run ads, like you can have shorter formats, you can have more like promotional focus. So it's quite broad, the usage. Maybe that's a bit different from FM radio, which historically has been used a lot like tactically here, and actually it's underperforming on brand loyalty. I think we have like, it's quite broad the way it can be used.
Indeed. And this is different from, for instance, banners on website that are clearly underperforming on 3 out of 5 of the communication goals. On brand awareness, brand understanding, and brand image, it scores far below the average that we found on this exercise. Now, we did the same exercise for the attitude towards different ad formats. And we have the dimensions that we've asked on this slide. We asked if they agree with the statement that this type of ad gives you inspiration, that you find this ad disturbing, useful, keeps me up to date, and so on. Again, we calculated indexes towards the average performance. And here you can see lots of figures on the slide again, and we've marked the digital audio ones. And we see in general that the digital audio formats tend to perform better compared to other digital media, such as social media ads, online video ads, and that are, for instance, here you can see are less suitable for keeping you up to date, or being perceived as being useful. And online videos are creating some more irritation among consumers, which is clearly not the case for digital audio advertising.
Yes, so you have the benefits of not having an ad blocker from the younger generations, and also you can still reach them with an online medium. So I think it gives quite an interesting role in the media, mix for younger generations. So because of that, yes, something we really think is very important now is to get in action mode, and that you shouldn't consider anymore digital audio like an innovation investment. Like it should be now part of your mainstream media mix. Something that you really don't cut when you have budget cuts. And also what is particularly, I think, interesting is that with the exceptional level of attention that you get, you can probably have less repetition than in other medium. And also don't forget that the CPM for digital audio is often quite competitive. And in the meantime, what is striking is that it's still a medium which is significantly underinvested. Like it's used by less than 1% of advertisers. If you compare to FM radio in France, 2021 versus the first semester of 2022, you still have 4 times less advertisers, while we have now comparable, coverage. And at the end, it's less than 1% of digital advertising budget. So you have like big opportunities to be visible. I think it's a great time now to move on. And feel free to reach out if you want to start a campaign. We have at Target Spot several, premium publishers across all the dimensions of digital audio. Radio France being one of them in France, obviously. So you can reach out with on the website with our contact page. If you want to learn, I also encourage you to visit our blog and learn more about digital audio through the articles that we regularly publish. And thank you again, Anton, for the great job on the research, and looking forward to making more projects with you.
Thank you, Victor.